Hello, everyone. Back on a Wednesday, back 11 a.m. Today, beautiful gym in the background. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. So today, actually, our big topic overall are the lats. And we are going to start off with a very practical question that we got from someone. The question was, what is the difference between a broad frame carry, for instance, and a narrow farmer's carry when it comes to the muscles?
Mhm. All right. So the goal for the lats, so for the lat dorsal, is always to get engaged in all three jobs with the widest grip possible. Before we go into the carries, I think it's easier to get the concept in the pull-ups because everybody knows pull-ups and how hard they are, especially if you start gripping wider. So the goal for a pull-up is always at some point to get the widest grip possible while still engaging your lats. That means once you pull up, your shoulder blades go back and stay down and your shoulders are not rolling forward. That's how we know that the lat is actually working. And this is the same concept for carries. The wider you grip on a carry, the more your lats have to work, especially stabilizing. So that means in a frame carry where the frame is fixed, so there's no deviation in grip width or broad. This is the actual hardest position for your lat to stabilize in. And of course, if you grip too wide in a frame carry, there's stuff that can happen. You can also shrug up. Shoulders can really roll forward in that position. So you see people shrugging. If that's the case, okay, narrow it down a little bit and off you go. So this is, especially the frame carry with a wide grip, is the best way how to make people feel the lat dorsal at first, right? Because it has to stabilize. You can't roll your shoulders forward, so you can shift towards any other muscle, especially any other small shoulder muscles. If you grip narrow, so let's say you do farmer's carries with kettlebells, which are done very often, but kind of miss the point of what the carry is about. The carry is not only about grip strength, yes, it is too, but also about the lat dorsal. The issue with holding it narrow, like hip width, with the kettlebells, you can rest the kettlebells on your thighs and literally just walk with the kettlebells without ever needing your lat dorsal to work, which will be beneficial for your grip for sure, but not for the lat dorsal. So the best bang for your buck is get your grip strength going while engaging your lat dorsal, and that's what we're using the frame carry so much. If you don't have a frame, don't worry. Most gyms have either at least kettlebells or farmer handles. Just make sure there's a little bit of a thigh gap, but on the other side, not the fitness influencer thigh gap in the middle, but we're actually talking about the thigh gap on the outside. So don't rest either the equipment or your hands on the outside of your thighs. You don't have to hold it wide out, but just make sure you're just not resting on your thighs. So you can use whatever kettlebells, even dumbbells work, or farmer handles for sure.
And what
So
would you recommend weight-wise? Kind of like as a rule of thumb to like shoot for, I don't know, 20 meters, 40 meters, or 60 meters. Where would you put like your recommendation there?
yes, so after studying this for 27 years and reading 1,423 studies, go as fucking heavy as you can for 20 meters, and don't think about the weight too much. The only measurement is okay. Can you get it off the ground? That means keeping your knees over your ankles, getting the weight up, whether that's the frame, whether that's the farmer handles, or whether that's the kettlebells. Once you can get it up using your hips, actually. Try to go for 20, max 40 meters and go as heavy as possible. Good point. What is as heavy as possible? If your goal is 40 meters and you make 40 meters, it's not heavy. Heavy is if you start struggling with either grip or your hips, so you start wobbling or walking like a penguin, that's fine. At the 30, 35-meter mark, if you're starting to struggle 5 meters before you actually reach the goal line, that's heavy. Making a set and putting the weight down, or even worse, saying the words out loud before putting the kettlebells or the weight down of, ooh, this was exhausting. This is not heavy weight, right? I'd love for your grip to give up like 2 meters before the 40-meter line or 2 meters before the 20-meter line. That's how you know that the weight was actual heavy. Again, you don't have to be concerned about safety issues as long as you can get it up in the way we want to do it, with a neutral hip and your knees over your ankles. You're good to go. Nothing can happen unless you get really stupid and crazy. All right. So pick it up, small steps, and go as heavy as you can for 20, 40 meters. In the beginning, of course, the pickup will be the more challenging stuff than the actual walking, right? So that's fine. So in the beginning, get the weight up and maybe go 40, maybe even for beginners, like 60 meters, right? But as you get stronger, try to reduce the weight and go 40 meters.
And now to kind of like keep that idea spinning, if we imagine that's now like more of a question for coaches watching this. What conclusions can you draw from when you observe people doing carries like this? Were they kind of like, is there an option to say, okay, I see you struggling with A, this means that job A, B, or C is lacking?
I'm hesitating to answer this question because I think, yes, there's some stuff. Okay, let's keep it simple. First thing I would look at is, okay, why can't you bring that, whatever it is, sandbag for a sandbag carry, or frame for a frame carry, or farmer handles for a farmer carry? Why can't you not bring that up to your starting position? That means with the standard leg, so you can start walking. With the sandbag, it's fascinating because a lot of people can carry 100 kilos to 20 meters, but they can't pick it up off the floor, right? So they put the sandbag on the bench and start from there. How can I phrase this nicely? If you're telling your friends you're doing functional training and doing this is not functional training. Super simple rule. If you can't pick it up off the floor, you should not carry it. All right, now we're going to educate you how to pick it up the floor. So get your hips involved in first, use your hamstrings and use your glutes to get it up the floor, and not your weird, quads, knees, or lower backs to get it up the floor. And then you can, and then you're good to go. So that means what you can see is if somebody is not able to pick it up off the floor, that means, okay, we need to start working on stabilizing the glutes, producing with the glutes, and learning how to put the brakes on with the glutes. That's the first thing I'm going to see. Once that is established and people can start walking, I think the most important assessment is when. This is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When are people starting to turn their feet out, right? So if it's actually heavy, if you're going for 40 meters, actually heavy, you'll start walking pretty normally, right? And at some point, when your hamstrings are about to give up, you start seeing feet turning out. This is just your body trying to find more tension in your hamstrings and your glutes. But there's nothing to see there. There's something to see there, but there's nothing to correct there. Just hang in there, right? So the fun part is, and this is actually a great measurement tool if the hamstring and the glutes are going to start working, is, okay, at the same weight as last week, are you going to start turning the feet out later? That's all we want to see. There's nothing to correct here. There's no foot exercise you have to do. There's no strengthening of your ankles. There's no strengthening of your knees necessary. Just keep doing the stuff and just observe what's happening. And if you can carry 100 kilos to 20 meters on a sandbag carry, great. You can pick it up. You can carry it for 20 meters. Nice. Okay. Next step, 105, 110, whatever it is, and then see how far your hamstring and your glutes are gonna take you. So these are the two things. First one, you can't pick it off the floor. All right, we need to work on glutes through chainsaw rope pulls, through sandbag box squat, etc. Your feet are starting to turn out. There's no assistance work that you need to do. There's just, okay, do more variations of carries. Just get your glutes and your hamstrings Let your glutes and hamstrings learn how to stabilize while walking, and of course, while being loaded, carrying some heavy shit around.
Mhm. And in general, that's kind of like the second part of our call today. I would like you to approach the topic of the lats, plural, as you use it in a book, and I would love for you to kind of like touch that topic for the listeners, why you speak of the lats, plural.
Okay. So whenever I talk about the lats, I mean two big muscles. One is the lat dorsi, and the other one is the teres major, right? Um, from a training perspective, not from an anatomical perspective, from my training perspective, it's miscategorized. And those two are like, I see them as counterparts. So that's why I call both of them the lats. So whenever I say the lats, I mean the lat dorsi and the teres major. The only difference is depending on your shoulder blade position. So we've talked about the shoulder before. That means your shoulder blades can go out. So like protracting the shoulder blades, getting them in, retracting the shoulder blades. Retracting is obviously more lat dorsi, and protracting is more teres major. So depending on that shoulder position, that bone position, and depending on the tension you need from a big muscle, this is going to define which one of the two has to work obviously more. This is not isolation. This is who has to do more work than the other, right? And for me, they're miscategorized because in anatomy books, the teres major is in the rotator cuff, right? And without going into any super details here, but the teres major cannot be in the same category as the other rotator cuff muscles, because the teres major is the only muscle in there that attaches on the inside of your, I'm sorry, the outside of your shoulder blade and on the inside of your big arm bone, right? So it has the potential for spiral movements because it's on the opposite ends of bones. And whenever you move, there's actually tension happening. All other rotator cuff muscles are not. They're either attached on the inside of the shoulder blade and on the inside of something else, but not vice versa. So this is a very good telltale of the we're miscategorizing it. And that's why I would love to see, and that's how we teach it in training, is there's a lat major and there's a lat minor. The lat major is the lat dorsi, and the lat minor is the teres major. All right. Forget words, forget semantics, doesn't matter. The only thing we have to know is we need both parts of the lats for either protracting shoulder blades or retracting shoulder blades equals shoulder health and fucking strong shoulders.
What are your go-to recommendations for anyone now listening who's like, okay, you got me convinced, I want to work on my lats?
This sounds so stupid because I'm always saying the same things. The cool thing is all the carries are gonna work both if you do them consistently. Because what is a frame carry? A frame carry is your shoulder blades are gonna be in between protracted, so out, and retracted in. No one's carrying heavy weight fully retracted nor fully protracted. So it's the perfect position to be in for your shoulder blades to learn to give the most tension to both, to the teres major and to the lat dorsi. The sandbag, for example, is obviously because you're going to carry it either like this or here, so either front leg carry or a bear hug carry. This is going to put you more in a protracted shoulder blade position. So you'll need the teres major more for stabilizing. So as long as you cycle through all those kind of carries, you'll get the most important job to the lat, which is obviously stabilizing and stabilizing. Let's keep it there. Is stabilizing. You get the best of both worlds without thinking about it too much. The next step I would add is, and we'll have it in the sexy shoulder template, are Chinese rows, right? So you're laying on the bench, the weight's below you, you pull it up. So you have the full stretch at the bottom. That means full protraction at the bottom. And once you pull up, you can work your shoulder full range, going from shoulder blades outside to shoulder blades inside. So you're going to teach your teres major to stabilize at the bottom, and your lat dorsi to actually pull up once you bring the weight up, right? We'll do rope pull variations, whether that's the over the yoke rope pull or the normal rope pull, for just exactly this. Like once you pull, so your shoulder is going to be fully out, and you're going to pull fully in. So that's the same concept as for the Chinese rows. Your shoulder needs a lot of movement under tension, not just movement, not just arm circles or band stuff.
Mm.
It actually needs a lot of tension going from one extreme of the shoulder blades towards the other extreme of the shoulder blades. So if you do those three, that means all sorts of carries, Chinese rows, and over the yoke row pulls, which is simply normal row pulls. And you start practicing the positions. That means actually thinking about where your shoulder blades are going, keeping your shoulder blades down, which muscles to use. This is going to be enough for a long, long time to actually get your lats going. And I see a lot of people talking about their lats being engaged, but all you see is like the top part. That means up to here is fully developed. But actually, your lats go all the way down to your hips. So this is the part that's missing the most for most people. And the exercises I just mentioned and the knowledge I've just mentioned are going to help you engage it fully. Why is this so important? Because you need your lats to also stabilize your pelvis, your hips. Why? Because it's attached there, and you're going to need it to keep a neutral hip. So this is why the lats are so important. Of course, for your shoulder first, but also for your hips, pelvis as well.
Am I mistaken if I think that it is easier in a way to target that upper part of the lat when doing movements as opposed to getting them to really feel them at their lower part?
Yes, because I think okay, why is this happening? Because we're putting exercises first and muscles second. So that means if I show up at a gym and I say, okay, I want to work on my lats or whatever, I say, okay, let's do dumbbell rows, Yates rows, and those are great exercises, right? But in my world, we have to change the perspective on, okay, not rows are for lats, but lats are for rows. That means just because you're doing dumbbell rows, or even if you just do my quote unquote Chinese rows, this doesn't mean your lat's going to fully work. No, 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 no. If you want to change your lat behavior, you need three things. You need a little bit of knowledge, the stuff that we talked about today. You need a lot of action. Those are exercises. And you need a reward because otherwise you're not going to repeat it. That means you have to know and feel and realize and see that your lat is actually starting to working all the way down to your hips and all the way literally up to your big arm bone. So that's the three things we need to keep people training and moving. And this is why I say the lats are for rows and not the other way around. So it's pointless. And that's why we see upper backs hugely developed. Because if you do a lat exercise, a dumbbell row, but you're doing it like this all the time, guess what? The muscles you're using are the muscles that are growing. So if you do this, that means your upper back is going to develop. But what you should be actually doing is pull all the way down to your hips, get your chest up, and more importantly, try to get your shoulder blades together. And this is why we see overdeveloped upper backs and all the issues that are related with this, and not the lat dorsal engagement that actually needed for shoulder health first and hip and lower body health second.
That's all we got for today.
Sweet. This is fun, guys. Keep it up. Bring on the questions. Love talking about it. We have a lot of stuff coming up. If you're interested in trying stuff out, which is the action part, it's just great. We have templates. They're for free. You can download it. We'll put it somewhere in this video or somewhere down here. I have no clue, but you'll be able to get those templates and just try it out. There's QR codes, there's videos, there's explanations to it. Give it a try and try to combine the three things you need for actual progress, which is some knowledge, a lot of action, and actually getting a reward for putting the work in. Love to talk to you guys, bring other questions, and see you next week.